Today, I want to talk about, might trim that out. What am I going to talk about today? Okay, camera's rolling. Today I want to talk about, start again. Today I want to talk about handing something over that is difficult to put into a checklist. There's something creative about it, or a lot creative about it. How do you make a process out of something which you can't really write down in an SOP? And just briefly, the example in my life that I'm thinking about right now that I need to go and go back home and prep for is this all hands meetings that we take three times a week, and we don't have a lot of senior management engagement, but we keep it for everybody else who is who is all remote and remote workers, and so it keeps them together. And it's almost become, it's something that I took over a long time ago, and it was almost an outlet of content creation, because I was able to talk about professional development and a bit of personal development as well, and whatever topics I thought would be useful, that I was interested in, and I thought would be useful for the staff as well. So handing something like that over is a little bit different, perhaps. There's not a clear checklist of steps. There's not just like one SOP that you follow and then it's all done. So how do you do it? Well, I remembered a while ago I was brainstorming ways to do that, to systemize this whole thing with a colleague of mine. And we came up with, what came from it was an almost earlier version of what I currently think of as the roles and deliverables. Well, really that's it, and SOPs at the end, but roles, deliverables, system, mostly the deliverables. So the artifacts, you can think of it like that, because with something like a meeting, which has a certain amount of teaching that you want to be delivered in that thing, there's a lot that could potentially go into that system, including defining what it would mean if the people actually took it on board, and they're measuring that, if it's a measurable type of thing that was taught. And even if it's not measurable, maybe you figure out a way to try and make it measurable. But not everything in this world is measurable, But how do you know that it's being done? Even if, I'll have to admit that it won't be done like I've been doing it. But how do you just know that it's being done to a certain standard? And what we realized as we looked through this was we would need there to be certain artifacts that you could, stake in the ground and say, yeah, this at least was done, Like a seasonal plan, say. A seasonal plan that's maybe signed off by the senior management, and that would be a great, a step up from in terms of professionalism, than how I've been doing it, which is a lot of times just me scrambling to figure something out, very close to the meeting. I've tried planning out, sure, but you know what I mean? So even if it's holding me in my final months, potentially, in this role, in this company, I should say, it would help me to professionalize how I work with this if I held myself to these deliverables, to these artifacts of work. So Again, it's not ephemera. It's not like, oh, I had these notes in somewhere, which is what I'm doing, right? I put notes about the session, and they're somewhere. Maybe they're in Tana, maybe they're in Coda, Coda doc, which I lovingly crafted to be a full registry of all of our sessions, and you know, all tagged with topic and blah blah blah. It's like, all right, at the end of the day, what we want is, we do want a registry of sessions, and we want a few things to be put in there, but what we'll need to make sure that whoever we've handed things to is taking it seriously is a clear expected deliverable that they must put forward. Because I'm pretty sure that if I hand it over to somebody, especially if I hand it over to multiple people, which is interesting, I guess just because there's less accountability, right? But if it's especially if it's a shared responsibility, it will, I expect, become them scrambling for a much less, them scrambling as well, but it just being like less good. I mean, some of the videos which, when I've pushed people to give me some, videos to share, or I've just seen people, if other people are contributing and the videos that they pick are like, they can be the blandest, just nothing videos, these kinds of corporate videos that just say that it could be written by AI. I mean, this is, I think, going back before AI was really doing all that, but it's the same thing, right? Same slop. People used to, slop was always around, guys. Anyway, so yeah, so they would scramble as well to get it done just in time, just like me, but it would be those kinds of videos, I expect. It would be, it would descend, and people would really not want to go anymore, feel like it was a total waste of time, which I think they still sometimes do, because they've just got so much on their plate, which is one of the things I'm trying to figure out how to solve in the long term using this process design thing, system design. So with all hands, with this thing that has a creative element that can be kind of just muscled through, that doesn't necessarily produce many artifacts at all, we can instead have something which essentially forces very good, planning and execution and reporting by just defining what needs to be delivered. And for the planning, it would be, okay, by this time, we need you to give us a seasonal plan for the next quarter. We need session prep docs for, by this time, and then attendance tracking, however that shows up, and then, or however we define it to be nailed down into something. And then a quarterly report to senior management so they have visibility on it, which they don't now. Even after so many years of me doing it ad hoc, out of my own brain, without a system, really. Well, with a system, but my own system, relatively organic system. There is no visibility on it from management, and I know how much that sucks. But I still hate doing it. I still hate reports in all their forms. But I just recognize the necessity of them, It's a love-hate relationship. It really is. I'll leave it there. If so to leave you with something to take away, if you're also looking at something like this, you think, I want to hand this over, I want to not have to keep doing this, but it's a difficult one. It's not something you can just write down into a checklist. I would say try to brainstorm, potentially with somebody else or just by your lonesome, a series of artifacts, if you want to call them that, that you think, okay, if these landed on my desk, then I would know that this thing was getting done to at least a certain standard. And and just come up with that list of things. It's a fun exercise. It clarifies things as well, even if you don't actually implement it. But I think if you do implement it, then, you know, this is the roles and deliverables framework. It's the deliverables are the whole thing. They really do clarify. They keep people accountable. They may or may not have SOPs attached. At the end of the day, you know, if the deliverable is happening, then stuff is being done. And that's all you need to know a lot of the time.